Good morning, everybody. This is Tribal Records Management 102. We're with the Ho-Chunk Nation from Black River Falls, Wisconsin. My name is Bethany Redbird. I am the Assistant Records Manager. I have also been the archivist in this department for over 15 years.
My name is Denise Redbird. I'm the records manager. I've been with the department for 22 years.
Just a bit of background real quick, just so you know. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Ho-Chunk Nation. Obviously, you are. They do not have a tribal council. They are a government. So there is a president, and they have departments just like the United States does. We don't have reservation land. They bought all their land back, so it's a little bit different. But we do still have to pass everything in front of a legislative body, just like the United States government does. And also, a little background on myself. I knew nothing about records management 15 years ago. I had a degree in history and thought, hey, I want to do something in a museum. Went online, saw the Ho-Chunk Nation. I lived in Bemidji, Minnesota at the time, and decided to move. And this crazy lady hired me. I actually have a master's degree now in museum studies. Again, not doing anything with museums, but we do also hold archival artifacts for our Cultural Resources Department, as the Ho-Chunk Nation does not have a museum. So we do a little bit with that. That is their responsibility. We have the housing for it, though, because we have a temperature humidity control vault, so we hold that.
So our archives, in our possession, that's actually ours, is more business archives than cultural.
Historical documents, right. Legal documents, governmental resolutions. We do hold the boxes of records for all the casinos, all of the departments, everything. Right now we have over 47,000 boxes of records in our storage. And we'll kind of go through here in a little bit, but we can find them usually within a matter of about 5 minutes. So. Sure.
Okay, and this is to everybody. Do you tend to have your cultural archives and your business or council community archives separate in your respective institutions? Or do you try to separate? They are separate. Ours are centralized. Yours are centralized.
I always thought it was a better idea to have it centralized, but when they established the records management department, they put it under administration, nothing to do with heritage preservation. So I found it very interesting that they did that.
That was our situation as well. Okay. We should be more centralized, but we're not.
Because you're all working towards the same goal. You're still trying to preserve records. You're still trying to preserve artifacts. Right. But, the records management spectrum, we're way low on the totem pole of all the governmental businesses. So what we say doesn't necessarily go unless, they need us for something. And I'm sure everyone else understands that completely. Okay, we're way low. Well, then that's us. Okay, so the Ho-Chunk Nation Records Management Department was established by a tribal resolution in 1993. I'll let Denise talk about that a little more because I wasn't here yet.
I came on board right after that, and at the time, we didn't have like a central tribal headquarters. We were different offices downtown in different towns. We shared a building with MIS, so I think they just put us under MIS, which is called IT now. So we're like a division of the IT department, which, whatever.
Makes no sense, but
my boss does what I ask him to do, so that's good. Because he doesn't really understand or know about records management, so he takes our opinion and listens, so I guess that's good. And literally, we were getting boxes from barns, sheds, anywhere, flooded stuff. And we just literally opened a box and just started sorting. Like we had a box for minutes, a box for resolutions, a box for housing stuff, a box for, this looks like it's financial. I mean, it was literally just starting that way. And it took a long, long time.
Yes. You didn't follow original order? When you said sorting, you didn't follow original order in which the records came in?
They came in literally no.
They just went and grabbed them from places, basements.
Mm-hmm. We follow original order, so I just was surprised to hear that you were pulling them out of boxes and sorting them.
Yeah, because they were in horrible, disgusting condition and just, literally barns.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these things
mice
came from. Yeah. I have personally unearthed a little nest with a petrified mouse in it. And
you applied the freezer method?
No, well, I came right after the flood, and I think what they did with those things is he literally laid them on the floor and just had a fan on them. and that's how that stuff was taken care of.
At that time, there wasn't a lot of knowledge about records management procedures, so there wasn't a knowledge of the freezing and all the emergency preparedness that we have now. So I think it was just kind of a, because it flooded in 1993, and we're talking, our downtown completely flooded.
Yep.
Right, so, they had all these records, and there wasn't very many staff either, and some of them had no background whatsoever in records management.
Oh, not you.
So at that time, then the records were inventoried box by box and then separated into categories, and then eventually, everything was filed and inventoried the way it's supposed to be. So now they built our building, the Ho-Chunk Records, or the tribal office building in '95. So then we were all excited because we got to move to this actual nice building, and we weren't stuck in the basement that had water running down the walls, and everybody came down there for their smoke break, and we had an actual section of the building with a record center and a vault and office space, and we felt like we made it. The cold storage warehouse, the first one was built in '97, as it says up here, and there were 13,000 boxes of records. We quickly outgrew that, and we could have really built it before 2002, but it took a few budget cycles to get approval. And that was a 2-story. Then that gave us 26,000 boxes. And in 2011, we had office space and more cold storage added out to our warehouse. So we're no longer in the tribal office building. We're just kind of, I don't know.
They got rid of us.
Football fields behind there, so we're our own facility now. So in total, we have about 40,000 boxes between the vault and cold storage. And as Bethany said earlier, everything is inventoried. We use the gain system for that, and literally just minutes. It takes us longer to walk to the shelf, to go out to the warehouse and walk up the stairs, if it's upstairs, and get to the box than it does for us to actually know where it is. So our turnaround time is very fast. And we're very proud of that.
We are.
Because back, even 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, it could literally be days to find something. And so I just have to chuckle now when just some random person in a department will call and, well, can I get that by the end of the week? And I'm thinking, well, you can have that in like 2 minutes. Okay, so we're going to tell you about our mission statement. We're going to go over the basic, what is a record? What's the life cycle of a record? Why is records important? We have record storage procedures that, for those of you that work in records, you're going to understand why you have to spell everything out for people, because they try to do the dumbest things and it's irritating. We have a request procedure, and then we have a list of services provided, and then we recently started a paper recycling initiative.
My gosh, we're actually getting rid of some of the paper.
So for the first time, we are a revenue generating department, which is pretty exciting.
So our mission statement, standard mission statement, is to provide quality customer service to all of the Ho-Chunk Nation's divisions and tribal members by providing requested information in an expedited manner while preserving, maintaining, and protecting all of the business and historical documents of the nation. We are committed to protect and improve the environment by recycling all of our records that have met their life cycle, as well as discarded documents from Ho-Chunk Nation employees and tribal members. They have met their retention requirements. That's the key word. We're not tossing paper in the recycling because we feel like it. It's stuff that has met and has to be discarded so that we're not liable to the BIA if they come in and audit us. So a record is any recorded information that supports the activity of the Ho-Chunk Nation. It can take the form of paper documents, electronic records, or graphic images. So here's the standard life cycle of a record, and I believe we just saw this in the last presentation. But there's the creation stage. They're produced internal and externally. We do pick up records from all of our departments, all of our casinos. That keeps us very busy, and that's where most of our records. We don't normally generate our own records unless we have historical documents that have, just been tossed in boxes, and therefore then we hold on to those. It's distribution, use, and storage, so they're transmitted, to us. And we actually go also and pick up the records from all these departments. We always pick up the casino records. We always pick up, if the branch offices call, we pick them up. We actually pick them up. No one brings them to us. We go get them. just so to make it easier for them so that they're willing to give them to us.
And then that way also we can ensure that they are packaged
Yeah.
in what we require and how we require them to be packaged. Because in some departments may think we're less than friendly, but we have started to refuse. You know, I've sent you these procedures, and if you can't follow them, then you just are going to keep them until you can label them properly and untape them and take the binders out and et cetera, et cetera.
Because what they,
I can see better.
okay, what they don't realize is that if they call us and ask for something, we're the ones that have to pull off the top shelf, pull that tape off, unstuff our boxes, you know, paper cuts, everything all over, just to find a single record. And if they actually came out and saw that, they would know exactly why we're less than friendly, even though I don't feel that we are.
A lot of them, too, like to try to send, I'm sure you've had this, in the paper copy boxes, that's not a records box. So many departments think, well, we should use this paper copy. No. Or the long, long ones. We just do the regular
Standard banker.
standard records box, and we adhere to that, and that's that.
I was just wondering if you had any like tips or strategies for like dealing with the different departments and getting to this, or is it just kind of strong arming them?
It's strong arming, totally.
It's strong arming and printing it out.
You know, that's what we did, the procedures that you're gonna see, and it sounds like you're holding their hand, but that's what you have to do. And after the holding hand stage, it's just, no, this is what you have to do, you have to follow it, and that's that. You know, the BAA and the legislature approved our manual, so you're gonna abide by that, and what your director says, I don't care.
Have you ever brought them out so they can really maybe
We
see?
have-
Because
Yes.
I've sometimes had to do that.
Yep.
And say, this is why we're acting. We're not trying to be witchy-bitchy.
Right.
Right.
We have a procedure.
We've had numerous open houses which had dismal results, even offered food. We
Yeah.
had snacks
Yep.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, people that we work with, you know, closely in certain departments who are always requesting stuff, and they'll come out, and then they're like, holy crap, I had no idea.
Yeah,
So then
you
they
do
go
this?
back and tell their little people, you know, so people have been out there, not nearly enough, because I think if more would come out, then they would see that we're not lowly like paper pushers, and, you know,
Filing clerks.
you know how it goes. I mean, you know what everyone's attitude is, so it's.
And we don't have time
It is
to be
what it
filing
is.
clerks. There's
No.
3 people in our department, 3 of them. We literally cannot go through all these boxes. So we've kind of stated, I'm sorry, but you have to just abide by this. Or we will not pick them up. Or we just had an instance where we had some business records. She had to come out. She was supposed to come out this week because she didn't label the outside of the box. Okay, how are we supposed to know what's in it for retention?
It said
BRF.
14 BRF. Okay, I'm assuming that's a
Gift shop,
C
wasn't it?
store
Oh.
or a gift shop, but what the heck is in there? So I told her they're gonna sit
Right.
here, on the floor.
'Cause
not on the
they weigh
shelf
100 pounds
until
each.
you come and label them, and if they're not labeled when I get back, even though they're heavy, I'm gonna load those suckers up and they're going right back. I don't care.
But again, we're really nice people.
No, we understand.
No, I mean, I'm glad that you do, because I'm sure it sounds kind of, witchy, but it's not. It's just, you have a procedure, everyone needs to follow a procedure, that's our procedure,
I'm nice, and if I'm not nice, then you have to look at yourself.
Right,
I'm
right.
not.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
So back to our life cycle. So we have the storage and maintenance stage, which is when we pick up the boxes and then keep them until their disposition is up. Retention and disposition stage. So that is when they become eligible for disposition. And we will talk about what we do with them when they are eligible. If they are permanent documents, we do scan in minutes, resolutions, historical documents. They get scanned into our Indus system, and again, that's another software we would discuss. We clean them, we put them in acid-free folders with acid-free interleaving paper. They go in archival boxes, and they stay forever. And hopefully are never touched again. We do have gloves and all of that if we need to touch them. Any questions? So this is our record storage procedures. So obviously, like we said, we store thousands of boxes in a secure environment. Our environment has a security system. We only have 2 codes, and Denise and I are the only ones that know those codes. We have one person that has the key, that is the IT director, and that is because if we lock ourselves out for some reason, we need someone else to be able to get in. We actually have had, in the past few weeks, a couple of incidences of 3 a.m. calls from our security company. Not sure yet what's going on with that. I was hoping that someone wasn't trying to steal our records, but no one was there. So We have it's a large impact, and we just talked about this too, on retrieval time if the boxes are nicely labeled, nicely filed, and we can get in them. Some of our procedures are, all the records, they have to be stored in banker boxes with the proper lids. We get these lids that are stuffed over, and you can't put another box on them. Or they're collapsing, and you can't put another box on them, which would destroy the 40 boxes we can actually put in that bay and shelf in our warehouse. There can't be any binders in there, because then you can't put the lid on. Or hanging file folders, because again, you can't put the lid on. They have to fit securely, but cannot be taped. We had some health records that were 800 pounds and taped, pulling down from a top shelf for a gal, and I just, you're cursing on the inside because it's, yeah.
Well, it came out.
Okay, maybe it came out, but still. It probably came out quite a bit. But so they cannot be overstuffed. You can always put them in another box. It's not difficult. We have an incoming records tracking form, and that is on the back of your printout. They have to be filled out completely. It discusses the department, the person from the department, the date they're sending it, how many boxes they're sending, and what is in them. It doesn't have to be verbatim exactly what's in there.
You can attach
a
an
date
index.
range and time. If they want to attach an index, they're more than welcome to. The casinos are really good about this. They label their boxes perfectly. They send us an attachment of exactly what's in there, and they actually have their security people check them as they get on the van, just to make sure. But they are the model. We may refuse, and obviously we have, since we're telling you we have. Records pick up if all of the guidelines are not followed. And actually, this brown box in the left
Those are my
corner,
favorite.
or your right corner, are the best ones. We've had some new white ones from Office Depot, I believe, and they're awful. They don't stack, they don't slide, they're terrible. So we would love for everybody to get those, however, they're quite a bit more expensive. So we understand if they can't. We do records requests on a literally daily basis. There are 3 of us. So we all 3 have this INDA system that we do records retrievals for permanent archives. We also do a lot of treasury. I need this voucher. I need this backup. I need this now. Okay, so we do them for everybody. And tribal members are more than welcome to call us. Usually about general council time is when we start to get a lot more tribal member requests because they want to go in front of general council board and speak. Employees may only request records stored by their own department. Now, I don't know if anyone else has had this issue, but if you're in the president's office, you cannot have the records from Treasury unless Treasury approves it. If you're in personnel, you cannot have the records from compliance or justice. They stored their records with us. They still own those records. We have to have their permission in writing that it's okay for someone to go into those. And usually they just go right through them. We just say you have to go through this department. That department then calls and says it's okay. We give them to that department, and then they distribute it to the other departments. We do not own those records. It is not right for anyone else to be able to see them. That's confidential information. We all know about confidentiality, so we do not give them to any other departments. We do store our legislative meeting minutes in open session. They're public record. The only one you cannot see is the executive session. Because that's confidential, we do allow attorneys, the president,
Internal, not just any internal.
right,
Attorney General.
the Attorney General. We have a list of specific people that can see executive session. General public cannot. So let's talk a little about our Indus software. Has anyone here heard of Indus? It's actually from West Salem, Wisconsin, which is about 45 minutes away from us. When I came in 2000, we had already been using it for 5 years at least.
We've had it a long time.
Okay, and it's obviously evolved over the years. In 2005, we did an upgrade of Indus, which means that when we would originally scan everything in, we would have to put keywords in. So the title would be the date. The subtitle would be the actual minutes, so we'd say legislative meeting minutes, January 1st, 1990. And then we'd have to do like a keyword of all the things that we thought were important in that minute. Therefore, if someone called us and said, hey, I'm looking for everything on Badger Ammunition Plant, we had to go through page by page of every single minute that came up with that keyword and look. It could take, hours. In 2005, we discovered OCR, and so now when we put it in, it highlights exactly where it's at on the page. We can find it within minutes and export it as a PDF to other people.
Is that through the Indus software? Or
Yes.
It is?
Yes. Yep. So this is what the Indus software looks like. It's literally like a filing cabinet. So you design it. You design if you're looking at a filing cabinet in front of you and you want a filing cabinet for minutes and you want a filing cabinet for resolutions, that's what you design it as. You decide what's going to be in here. So we have cabinets for minutes, our old minutes, which is just from before the upgrade, newspaper articles, personnel files, quarterly reports. We've done budgets. We're doing meeting packets for all of the legislative meetings. We can find anything in any of these, and all of them have been scanned in. So it retrieves it. Obviously, we were looking for veteran supportive housing or just veterans, and it tells us all of the things that it pulls up in. So it's in resolutions, it's in minutes, it's in articles. It was 158 search results alone in the minutes. And then it'll tell us how many hits in those documents. So we can scroll through. Obviously, veterans is kind of a difficult one to look for, and we usually require more specific information. This was just for purposes of print screening. Does anyone have any questions about Indus? So this is what we use. About 3 months ago, our director that was soon to be going out of administration came to me and said, I want everybody to use Indus. I want personnel to use Indus. I want compliance to use Indus. I want treasury and payroll to use Indus. Okay, that's a great idea. You can't share information on Indus. Everybody has their own security clearance. You decide what it is. Land Records has it. We don't see their stuff. They don't see our stuff. And it was a great idea. So we all got together and we met about it. And it was, yep, let's do this. Because then, if you have someone's personnel file by their specific personnel employee ID number, you can just use different folders to put all of their information under, all of their payroll, their compliance, all of the, any issues they've had, anything underneath there. But if you can only see certain things if you were in those departments. Compliance can't see personnel's. Personnel can't see, treasuries, any of it. And I think the cost was probably it was $15,000 for treasury, and that was because they were using 20 users. So they had to have licenses. It was $4,000 to $5,000 for each other department because they were only using 5 users. And when they said, well, what are we going to do? Who's going to pay for it? I said, well, aren't you guys going to pay for it? And they said, no, we're not going to pay for it. I don't know why the director made you do this. And it was completely scrapped. So we did a lot of research for basically nothing. We do still have hopes that we could do this. It would streamline our electronic storage just amazingly. Personnel does not like to let go of paper. And we actually had their director on board with getting rid of the paper. We would still store the paper, but when it's done, it's gone. So it would just be a more streamlined process for everyone, and they all agreed, and then no one had the money for the funding. And it was the end of the fiscal year. So just a little idea of what we were hoping to do and still hoping to get people to do. All right, you can start again. I'm talking too much.
You're fine. Okay, so the services that we provide, as you can see up here, we have active and inactive record storage. The original idea of this records department in 1993 was strictly inactive storage. We weren't going to have any active records from any departments, but because of space constraints, that's changed over time. In our manual, technically, sites are supposed to keep their records on site for 18 months, and that the casinos, it's easier, but like the Treasury Department in the tribal office building, they just do not simply have the space to keep things on site for 18 months. So we've kind of become a active/inactive. We are pretty daily going into Treasury's boxes to get, vouchers and backup or journal entries, which I have to laugh at the voucher part because we do electronic vouchering now. We scan our backup in. It's all, okay, but they must print it all out, and we get the boxes of the voucher and all the backup. So I don't know what's going on there. Like it says here, last fiscal year received a little over 2,500 boxes. We do records transports we're responsible for every document the nation produces. So wherever they have records to be picked up, we go. And at the end here, there's a little map to kind of show you our radius. We do record searches for departmental and tribal member requests. Last year, a little under 350 record searches. The staff hours is not a lot just because of how efficient we are. And it sounds like, let's talk ourselves up. But if we weren't able to access our records as quick as we are able to, those hours would be double, triple. We've recently restarted, well, the last 2 years, we're recycling records, and I would say about 15,000 boxes in the last 2 years. We've probably brought in 20,
Yeah.
15, around $20,000 of revenue to the tribe, which is totally huge for us because from 1993 until 2 years ago, we were strictly funded by NPD funds. We didn't have any money coming in. Now, of course, that money doesn't come back right to our department. It goes in the general fund, but at least we're bringing in some money, and we're helping the environment. We do preservation and conservation of our historical documents, and we have archival storage in our temperature and humidity controlled vault. There's an example of our document request form that's in your packet. And this is just pretty simply so that we can just keep track of the requests that we get. There's really no other reason that we use this form other than, it's not like we hold it against somebody later. It's just so for tracking purposes. And we also have a customer survey, which we haven't used in quite a few years because, we're generally servicing the same departments over and over with requests. And of course, we get them their things quickly, and so they're happy, and why have them fill out that form over and over again?
And we put the time the request was taken and the time request was delivered just for our own records. When we do monthly and annual reports, we like to record how many we've done, how fast we've done it, and it's just kind of so that people know that we're not sitting on it forever. It's taking us 5-10 minutes, unless it's a really, a vast record search.
Here's our incoming records tracking form. So in transferring it here, it doesn't look quite like it is, but it's obviously, the name and date, title, and the facility that these records are coming from, how many boxes are coming, and a description of the records like Bethany was talking about. We have them attach an index of exactly what's in each box. That comes with it also. Everybody signs it, and then we let them know on the bottom if it's in the vault or the warehouse. And then the location, that ties in with the GAIN system, which goes by area, row, bay, shelf. So we put that and that's strictly, you have 40,000 boxes. Okay, we brought them last year. I don't remember where I put it. So you can refer to here. And it takes you strictly right to the shelf, just like the GAIN when we put it in the inventory. Takes you right to the shelf, and there's 20 to 40 boxes on a shelf, and there you are.
Because every box is numbered. This is where all of our facility and office locations are. We do serve almost all of them with regards to, except for St. Paul. We've never picked up from Chicago and Milwaukee. We do have branch offices there. We have never been contacted by them to pick up records. So we would be happy to. We just have not heard from them. We do a lot of casino. I think we're pulling in probably at least 1,000 to 1,500 of those every year. We have a van that holds about 150. So we make multiple trips to Dells, Wittenberg, Inacusa, all of them, just so that we pick up these records. So this is kind of a vast area. It's almost all over the state, except for the north. But we do pick them up. They do not bring them to us.
So we have procedures for each step of our process. We have request procedures, and maybe it's self-explanatory, but it's out there because you have to fill out a document request form. It's just part of what you do. And also, like I think someone in your session, these procedures, when you have a new employee come in, which we will be in a few weeks, it's just easier when they have a visual rather than you're talking at them. You're not going to remember that. The pickup and storage procedures, again, we touched on that because people just need to be told over and over again how to pack a box. And I like to remind them, pack that box in a way that when I have to go into it for you, I'm going to find it, because the better you do it, the quicker I'm going to find that for you when you want it again. If you're going to just simply throw paper in there, well, then be prepared to get a phone call with me saying, well, you can come here and look through your boxes. Whereas if you have things clearly labeled and they're packed nicely, it's just going to be better for everyone all around. We have the incoming records tracking form we talked about, and then the record storage procedures that we've already talked about. We have other interdepartmental procedures. We have an emergency action plan that is maybe on here. like an inspection about just checking little things like for rodents
Mhm.
and the fire extinguishers and stuff like that. We have a recycling policy, the destruction procedures, which we follow from GAIN. So that's kind of the basis of the GAIN software of where we get our destruction procedures from, because when you enter that information in, you're assigning a retention code to it, and then whenever you want, you can run a destruction preview, and it tells you all of the boxes according to the date information you put in when you entered the box and the retention code you gave it. Okay, you have 2,500 boxes that are eligible to be destroyed in this batch. And then, and it gives you, it generates different reports then that you can send to the department, that you can keep for yourself, and then you get a pick list that you take out to the warehouse physically, and that's what you pick by, and then you can certify it at the end and know that it's all been taken care of. So it's just kind of a paper trail, CYA type of deal. We have the retention schedule that took a long time to do, and we started that in 1994, and we called every single other recognized tribe in the state of Wisconsin looking for help, because it was kind of like, I was fresh out of school, and what do we do? And nobody, what's a retention schedule? So we were totally on our own with everything that we started, which is why we are more than happy. If you ever have any questions, we will help you, because it was just so difficult in the beginning. Inventory procedures, and then our records manual, which is going to be kind of converted into an act. This is what we're working on, so that it is against the law to get rid of something that has not met its retention requirements.
Sorry. So back to the manual. Let's kind of start there. I know this is really basic information, but it's the important basic information because this is kind of where it all starts. It was written and approved in 1993, and it talks about all the procedures we've talked about. All the policies we have to follow as a department. We're working with the planning department to do a code, and that code will then make everyone follow our procedures. Oh, we're hoping. If we're a code, then they have to listen, hopefully. So it's easier, you were talking about having to talk to people and kind of get them on records management board. If you actually have an approved code by the legislature, that helps a lot, because then it's listed with all of the other acts and codes they pass. It's legal and binding, and we can explain to directors, new directors, old directors, this is why we're doing this. We're not just deciding manually to do this, this is why we're doing it. So it won't just be a guide, it will actually be a law. So Denise talked a little about inventory. It's a basic inventory process. You go and get the boxes. We put them on a shelf, and then we manually walk out there. We have an inventory sheet. We assign the numbers from GAIN, because that tells us what numbers are available. Okay. We put the sticker on. We put where it's at on the form, and then we just briefly describe it. So it's not a necessarily fast process, because we have 40-some thousand boxes, and we can't be out there in the middle of winter because it's cold storage. But we go out there for days and just enter everything that's come in. And then we put it in the computer. We both have GAIN on our system, so we're both allowed to do that. So it's just a brief description. You're putting the box number, the retention code, the department it's for, where it's located, and then that actually generates when it has to be disposed of. So that when we have to go get them, it's simple. So here's what the GAIN system looks like. Okay, so here's the box number. We did it for the Ho-Chunk Nation Treasury Department. This is the retention code, so it's in accounts payable boxes, which we have quite a few of. They're only kept for 7 years, and this is the date on the box. So it's fiscal year 6/7, so it's 7/1 through 6/30. We go by fiscal year at the nation, and this is when it can be disposed. So it was pulled and disposed of last year, and then sent for recycling. And so then it'll say you're going to destroy it because it's not a permanent record. Your right there is where it's at. It's in the warehouse. That's our shelf code so that we know where to find. All our shelves have stickers on them that tell us what they are. We know basically where they are. That'll tell us the shelf, the location, the bay, the shelf, the area. And then it'll say, when we actually put it in. So this is a basic software. It's basic data entry. And anyone can do it. And it just makes life so much easier, because we would not be able to find these without this, with just a piece of paper telling us, where it's at. Because if we've had different people working for us, and if you've ever looked at inventory sheets, you can't even read the writing of most of them, so we've had to even struggle with that. So I'm going to let Denise, she's the retention pro. Pro.
So a retention schedule is a document listing all the titles of the record series, lengths of time each document or record will be retained as an active record, the reason for its retention, administrative, legal, fiscal, historical, and the disposition agreed upon by the Ho-Chunk Nation Records Manager and the Ho-Chunk Nation Legislature and approved by the BAA. It's a clearly defined plan for the records retention and disposal. Is a vital component of a records management program.
Is everybody familiar with retention? Okay.
It's not a fun topic at all. It's not fun to research. It's my least favorite thing, but it's totally so important. And like I had said earlier, we had no help of even where to begin.
I'm so glad I wasn't here then.
And I guess I already covered this, that nobody even knew what we were talking about. So.
And our retention is, 16 pages. We're actually going through it to kind of eliminate some of it. We get a lot of departments that call and say, I want to see your retention schedule. However, we've set up different schedules for them, just piecing the pieces of what do you have. We actually sent out a survey saying to the different departments, we just want to know what records you hold. Therefore, we can get you a list of the retention for just yours, or you're going to be lost looking through the 16-page retention code that is just a blur of, they don't understand the codes, they don't understand everything, and I completely understand too. I mean, when I first looked at it, I'm like, what is this? So we've kind of done a survey saying, mailroom, what do you hold? Treasury, what do you hold? Business, what do you have? And then given them a specific retention list based on what they hold. And that makes it a lot easier for them. We don't need you to keep copies of copies of copies of copies because Treasury has that. So get rid of it. And they're, what? We're paper conservators. We like our paper. People like their paper. However, we don't need multiple copies of the same thing. So it kind of teaches them, no, it's a copy. You keep it for a year, not 7. So that's, the retention code has been difficult, I know, to work on, but it's very helpful. And it also, if you explain to people kind of why you have it, even if they don't want to give it up, they still need to give it up. And so we also encompass both our physical and our electronic records. Someone mentioned email in the last one. We are just as lost on email as everybody else. It's a process that we're currently looking at too, how you archive, how you, assign things to emails. What are they important? Is a, hey, what are you doing for lunch? Really necessarily means something you need to keep? Or is, a presidential saying this is a decree? Well, obviously you want to keep that, So we've kind of talked with IT about that as well. We're kind of working on what we're going to do as far as emails too. It's so new. It's kind of a, up and coming topic, as everyone in records management knows.
So, and I didn't realize I skipped ahead so much. The instruction procedures we kind of pull from GAIN. That was the framework for our written procedures. Like I said, annual master instruction. We run a report. A memo is created for each department saying you have 521 boxes that are eligible for destruction. Attached is a list of these boxes. Sign this acknowledgement. Get it back to me by this date. And then from there we run a pick list. And we print that list and go out to the warehouse and pull those physical boxes and then package them for recycling.
This is the example.
There's a screenshot of the pick list after. So the bottom picture is the just a picture of one of the memos, really, that it generates. It says, it's the date. It gives it a memo number. It's what facility is it, how many boxes, and this particular department had 1,121 boxes to be disposed of. So that pick list goes out to the warehouse with whichever one of us is the lucky one that day, and
Or
all
both
those
of us.
boxes. And we recently started to recycle. So we used to shred simply everything. Everything was shredded. And years and years ago, one of our shredders broke. Well, we only had one at the time.
Yep.
Broke down. The part had to be made and shipped from Germany. That took months. So we didn't shred for almost a year. So you can imagine. And then the catch-up was impossible.
Yeah, the trickle down of that.
We had
was-
15,000 boxes that we shouldn't have had anymore.
and 4 people to try and get rid of all
two
while maintaining
shredders.
everything else. Yeah.
So it was something I think I figured out. If you shred for 8 hours every day, It's 364 days, I think, to shred those 15,000. This is not happening. So we got in contact with Harmon Recycling, Georgia Pacific in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And they came and looked at our paper, and they loved our paper, which I thought is so funny. He was so excited about our paper. Like, oh, this is great paper. So,
Yeah. Our paper's the best.
I guess we have a great paper. So how it works is a semi can hold, because we don't double stack, a semi can hold 21 pallets, just regular, not huge pallets, just a regular size pallet. And we put 54 boxes on each pallet. And that's a load. So when we have enough pallets for a load, we call them. They send a semi. We use our
Load it up.
forklift, and food distribution is across the road from us, and we use their loading dock, and we get the boxes in there, and then we get a load notification saying how much it weighed. We get a check in the mail, and it's your toilet paper and paper towel.
So as you can imagine, what's the main concern with this? Confidentiality.
Everyone is.
It is just, they will pay people, because we talked about this too, having someone come in and get rid of everything.
Some of the casinos would rather
Yes.
pay somebody to stand there for however many hours a day. You gotta think of their pay, their benefits. They're gonna stand there and they want them to shred this stuff, and then have an outside company come pick it up. Where if you have and the president's office too is totally on board with this now,
Mhm.
so it's pretty much gonna be how it's gonna go. We come and pick up even the stuff that you need destroyed. If you shred it already, we would rather you didn't, because that's a pain. But if it's shred, we're going to take it, and then it goes from your facility and it comes to our secure facility. We take care of it. If it's shred already, what Georgia Pacific has, they call them Gaylord boxes, but they're not like what we know as Gaylord boxes. They're these huge boxes that can be this tall, like this wide. They can hold 800 pounds of paper. So then we have to empty those bags of shred into those big boxes, and it's on a pallet. So then it's in our facility, then it's covered, tied down. Then, the drivers that Harmon contract with obviously are bonded, and we have a seal goes on the outside of their truck. So it goes from our warehouse to the secure truck to their secure facility, which there can be no visitors in the building when trucks back in to recycle the paper.
We did go
We
site
went on
visit.
a little field trip, and the state of Wisconsin, that is where the state of Wisconsin sends all of our old records that they have of us to be taken care of. So when people are so,
My paycheck's going to be there.
you want to send it, you'd rather than have us take care of it until it gets put on the truck, and then it's on that truck, and then literally goes to that facility, which is locked and secured. You just want to hire some outside, you don't know who they are, and they're just, or you want to take it to the recycling center where it sits in the recycling center for how
Of your
many
county,
weeks
yeah.
before another outside place comes and picks it up and then gets the money for it. So that's like the big battle right now. It's getting less
It is.
once we take the time to explain, but it's just very frustrating when they automatically think they would just rather let some unknown outside people come in and take their paper.
But they're also paying them to do that.
And they're paying,
thousands
yeah.
of dollars. We're talking $15,000 to $20,000 they're paying these companies to come in and take this, when we're actually taking it for free, shipping it out, and getting paid for it.
Right.
We're hoping that we can get OOP to do some kind of code or something saying you all have to go through here, because for some reason these casino GMs are getting in their mind that they want this done, even though we've talked to them. And we're benefiting the Ho-Chunk Nation. We're helping their general fund, and they're saying, nope, we want these people to come in and do it.
Does this company provide a certificate of destruction that
Yep.
proves it? So
Yep.
It's
that works sometimes.
We do our recycling on site. I wonder, did you ever consider that? We used a company called Centos. They just got purchased by another company called Shred It, and their truck comes on site. I oversee the records that are in need of destruction, that are temporary confidential records that are at the end of their life cycle.
Mhm.
So we oversee the actual shredding
Okay.
on site. I didn't know if you had
we
considered
looked into that, but it was
pay
going
them
to be
monthly.
like $20,000 for them to come and take care of our, when we
Just
had
the
the 15,000 boxes
15,000.
that needed to be.
We have a separate, we do this for our confidential
Mhm.
records.
Mhm.
We have a separate internal program in our environmental department for recycling anything that's not confidential. So we do have that, and they collect that, and we do get paid for that.
Gotcha.
I'm not
We
sure
we actually don't have
but-
a difference for confidential and non-confidential because we are a confidential department. We, every Thursday morning, Denise and I walk through every single department at the tribal office building, take all of their recycling, because maintenance no longer takes paper. They will not pick up paper anymore because we have said, we will come over there, we will pick it up, we will take care of it all. So we get our little bins out and we dump all of their paper recycling, which could be 10, 15 bins, and the bins are like this, full of paper. And we go over there, we pick it up, we put it in our van, we dump it into the Gaylord boxes, and we do it every week. Just like clockwork. Every week, every Thursday between 9 and 10, we go there and pick it up. So they have no responsibility for it. It makes it easier, and then it's a little easier to kind of say, okay, well, we're going to take care of this. You don't even have to do anything except put it in a blue bin. And maintenance is happy because then they don't have to worry about it either. No more shredded paper. No more, we take care of it all. So we don't discriminate between the difference between confidential and non-confidential, and we don't have the time in a day to pick through someone's paycheck, or we literally get every record from the Ho-Chunk Nation. We have all of their executive stuff, all of their personnel files. We don't care. We don't want to see it. We have nothing to do with it. We're completely confidential. We sign an agreement, and people kind of get up in arms about it because they don't want it sent. But if our state of Wisconsin is sending our tax records there with all of our Social Security information and everything, and we watch them back the truck in, nobody goes in, it just gets bleached and pulped. You're not going to be, with a paper towel that has the Ho-Chunk Nation resolution on it. It's not going to happen. So, and if it does, wow, well, I'll eat my words. But, so we understand that people get concerned about it. It's kind of a new program for us. Like, we've been getting bigger and bigger, but we're just trying to understand that, we're trying to generate revenue.
And we've had a few, our hope is, because we're kind of in an industrial park area in Black River, so we wanted it to happen this year, but with the change of administration, it didn't happen. Eventually kind of branch out, so not just our campus, but, surrounding businesses, get flyers out there and let them know that's a secure way to take care of your paper. And we've already had, there are like 2 little Ho-Chunk elders that bring their mail and their old, their stuff over every week. And so, the word is getting out, and so we hope to expand quite a bit.
Yes.
This is really cool, and it just made me think of something, and Courtney, you probably have more information about this, but I remembered that Loretta Metoxen from the Oneida Nation said that for their records management, they ended up recycling maybe not all of it, but some of it. They had it shredded, and then they used it like for bedding on the Oneida farm. That was the coolest thing.
We actually, we used to have a couple people come over because we did shred for so long. So we had just bags and bags of shred, and we had people come over and say, hey, can we use that for our farm? And sure.
Yeah.
But that's an excellent idea.
It was like one department
Yep.
together, but I'm sure it's not everything, so that would be a
Right, and we eliminated one of our shredders, but in the case that someone would need that, we still do have an operational shredder. So if someone actually said, hey, we need some shredded paper, it would take 10 minutes to, do a bag for someone. We'd be happy to do that, but that is an excellent idea. Definitely.
So, disaster recovery. The purpose of a disaster recovery plan is to prevent or mitigate loss due to disaster, like pest, natural disasters, fire, to manage the initial crisis and to recover from the disaster as quickly as possible. Our plan covers only our department, but it is kind of vital to all the other departments because we house their stuff. It outlines the objectives and critical functions, the types, and and responses. So if we have a fire, there's obviously water damage. So it lists how to take care of documents for each different disaster that you could experience.
Do you guys have sprinkler systems in any of your archives? Anybody? Oh, good one. We have a fire suppression system called Sapphire in ours, so we don't have sprinklers in our permanent archives.
It details workspace and office supply requirements, and that is also going to be drafted into a code, kind of along with the retention and the manual. It's all going to be kind of all-encompassing. And the emergency action plan, that was not fun to put together, but it encompasses personal safety in the event of various emergencies and includes evacuation procedures in case of medical emergencies, power outages, fire, tornado, flooding, personal threats, bomb threats, explosions, just everything you could think of. But everyone, there's only 3 of us in the department at the moment, so we all have it, we all read it. I don't know how much, like, really, if it came down to it, if someone came in and was threatening us, I don't know if I'd remember what I was supposed to do.
Run. We'd run. Yeah, we have a kit, too, that we put together in a giant garbage bin for disaster recovery and emergency action, just to have, flashlights and all kinds of different things if we need to freeze things, if we need, to dry things, what we need to do.
And just like everything else, I mean, if you're interested in seeing our disaster recovery plan, I can email that to you, or the emergency action plan.
It's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So now we'll talk a little bit about our archives. I know I said that we weren't an archives department. However, we do house archives for our cultural resource department, and I have a background as an archivist as well. So we had to have one mainly for our paper. And so, when I got that job there, I thought, I'm going to go in there and start cleaning artifacts, and I'm going to start, and then I was like, oh, it's just paper. But there's still a lot you can do with paper, and historical documents are just as important as artifacts. So I think I said it before too, so we conserve and preserve all of our historical documents. So we have all the legislative subcommittee meeting minutes, resolutions, acts, and ordinances. We do have some minutes that go back to 1935. So, and they all have been scanned in. Now, the 1935 ones, probably 1960s, you can't see as well in OCR, but we do have them on hand. We also do newsletters and newspapers. We just had this digitization project 2 years ago that digitized the WODUC from 1997 to 2012. So they're all on a separate drive that we can attach to our computers if people would like to see them. We do also archive all of our election results, just to have them as a permanent archive. We do anything we think is pertinent and historical and needs to be kept permanently, we do hold on to. We don't just let it go. We do still, we don't scan in, but we still hold all of justices' permanent files, all of their case files. All of that kind of thing is in our vault, and no one else can see it but us. It's preserved. It's under good lighting. It's under good humidity. We just want to make sure that these are kept forever. Our vault, like I said before, it's temperature, humidity controlled. We house all of our historical and permanent records, and we have the sapphire suppression system. That is the gas that comes down if we have a fire instead of water, and so it won't damage all of our artifacts. Right. So what we do for just basic archival of documents, so we scan them into the Indus software. The legislature, like secretaries, will send us probably weekly or monthly all of their most recent resolutions, minutes, and we can get them from different departments, housing, finance, admin, all of the subcommittees as well, and they send them over to us. They get scanned in, and then we clean them with a document cleaning pad. We put them into acid-free folders, and we get all of this from the Gaylord catalog. And then we interleave them with the acid-free paper, and they go into the blue archival boxes. And then we put them on our shelves. We do not touch them again unless we have gloves on. So we try not to go into them as much as possible. We did digitize all of our WODUC, and we did also digitize all of the nation's properties blueprints. We had a planning department that had all of the blueprint scanner, that big, enormous thing, and that was a project for one of our workers, and he just digitized everything. So we have most of the blueprints for all of our casinos, the expansions, everything. So we can send them by PDF to people that want those plans. If they're if they're redoing something, if they just want to model after it, they'll call us and say, hey, we need this. We no longer use microfilm. We do have quite a bit of microfilm in storage. We do not use it. We had, old genealogy things, and a lot of times enrollment will come over and look through that kind of information because they still have microfilm. So we still have a reader, only for them, because they come over and look at it, but we have nothing to do with microfilm anymore. So we also house, artifacts for the Cultural Resources and Heritage Preservation Department. They have nowhere to put them. They have a building that has sprinklers. They have a building that has food in it. They have a building that's just a few offices, and they have no way to store it. So they just brought it. We said, why don't you bring it to us? And eventually our hope is with them that they will come over and actually inventory everything so that when they're looking for something, they can find it. We just don't have the manpower to do it, or we would. So there's no museum. I think there's one in the works, and someday there should be a museum, but right now we're holding those just so they're in the right place. And actually, we have a Ho-Chunk Elder Work Project going on. We have, in coordination with Sharon White Rabbit, she's a Ho-Chunk Elder. Her dad was Mitchell White Rabbit. He was the pastor for the Native American Church at the Indian Mission for over 50 years and collected just vast amounts of records. And he was an amazing records keeper. And so he passed away, and then she decided she was going to do this through the Ho-Chunk Elder Project. And it's been probably 2 years now, and she's still organizing. So we give her all of the supplies. We provide her with the cleaning. We provide her with, all of the acid-free. We tell her, she'll call and say, what should I do with this? What should I do with that? Do you want to organize? She's organizing it by subject, date. It's taking her a long time, but it's important information. There was birth and marriage records she was going through, back from the 50s, and people that were sitting there with us were actually like, hey, that's my birth, that's my baptism record. That's my wedding photo, just different, and these elders are, 90-some years old. So this is important information.
And when she is complete, she's donating we're going to get the entire collection.
Which she can also, she can take back whenever. It's just a loan. But, she doesn't have the capacity to store it, nor does she want to have the capacity to store it, so we're more than willing. Also, through her, we're hoping that we get it out to a lot of other Ho-Chunk elders that we will take your stuff. It doesn't have to be organized. It doesn't have to be pretty. We'll take it. Because they actually have been denied by previous administrations, other administrations saying,
cultural resources.
we don't want anything to do with this.
We never deny anyone, but it has come through the grapevine that there have been different elders and just different, even non-elders, went to cultural resources saying, hey, I have this and I have this of my grandparents. And no, I don't want it. What? I mean, really?
So we told Sharon, please, and she actually has little workshops too, yeah. When they have their meetings, she gets up there and tells all the other elder workers, this is what I'm doing, and she even finds photos of them from a long time ago. And, if you guys have things, you can bring it to records and they'll take care of it. Because we don't, that's vital information that's gone. Just because one person says, no, come to us, we'll take care of it. We'll do whatever. So we're trying to get the word out with her, and she's just a wonderful, wonderful lady to work with, and she has just been so helpful, and she has learned a lot.
That's because they're not thinking in the future.
Right.
That you need this history.
Right, in a few years, these people aren't going to be here anymore. And if it's a person's grandparent,
She's very forward-thinking. And,
yes.
Was really ticked off that the Heritage Preservation Director told her, no, I don't want it. And
Very offended.
Her father was a very, very, very important person in the Ho-Chunk community, and I just was flabbergasted. And it's like, how many other people that we don't even know have
Yes.
she said, no, I don't have the, because no, they don't have the facilities because they're not getting not taking the necessary steps to get a museum or to even get decent
An archives,
facilities for themselves. But we have the means to hold those things. And maybe we're just records management, but she's got a big background in archives. I've learned a lot, and it just amazes me that someone would say no. It makes me upset. It's sad.
Yeah. So here's the archival supplies we use. Thought we'd just give you a photo. That's the Gaylord box. That's what we clean after we use the document cleaning pad with our gloves on, of course. That is the brush that we use to brush off the residue of the cleaning pad. It gets brushed off. We put it with this paper in between it, and they go in these folders in that box.
Oh, I see why they say you have good paper. That's a very expensive.
It is very expensive.
$30 a read.
It is very expensive. And we operate on a budget of what, $225,000?
I think mailroom might have a bigger budget than we do. It's
So-
kind of
But
ridiculous.
Gaylord will give you a good discount.
And they would 15% discount just for being with the tribe. So that's helpful. But yeah, and then we give some to Sharon too, but it's worth it in the long run because you want these things to preserve and to
For
last.
100 years.
Right,
200 years.
right. And some of it is already, 75 to, 90 years old.
So when we first initially talked about working with Sharon, and we were kind of like, we don't have a lot of money in our department, but, what is the cost versus not helping her at all preserve these things.
I would have
So-
tried to pay out of my own pocket just to get
Yeah.
that stuff. I mean, it's just important.
So we've given her, well, all the supplies that she needs, and
Yep.
we've had to mail out, or she'll come in sometimes, because she lives in Hudson.
Which is 2 hours.
2 hours from
Yep.
where we are, but
Do you have to wash your gloves, or does your company allow you to wear the gloves and throw them away? We have to keep ours.
No, we don't wash them.
we just.
No.
And we were just talking before we left, we need to order some more.
Yep.
gloves.
And the
'Cause I was
company
like, "Where are
is,
the gloves?"
yeah,
Take the
it's
picture.
basically Denise and I. So we're sisters-in-law, and we're friends. So we kind of know how to think, and we know what's important. I don't get flack from her, and our director doesn't get flack because he doesn't know anything about records.
Yeah, I know you both had the same, I thought you guys were sisters.
No, our husbands are brothers. Earlier I said our brothers are husbands, but that's totally wrong. Our husbands are brothers. And that was after we actually started working together.
On your cleaning thing, they have different sponges, but you like those
I like
that
that-
are recent?
I like it. In fact, you know what? You cannot get that through Gaylord anymore, but Hollinger does have it. The
Right.
pad, it lasts a long time.
Okay.
It lasts a really long time. And if as long as it doesn't rip open, you're okay. But I just find it easier to quickly dust it, not quickly, but dust over it all,
Right.
sweep, turn it over, dust it. And it's easier for other people that are learning to do it.
Okay.
This is what we've done, and I know people don't like change, so I guess we've just kind of stuck with it. Just because we're so busy trying to do everything at the same time, we just kind of have stuck with it's worked. We haven't had any issues, all of our paper is intact and, it looks fabulous, so. So in conclusion, now that it's 11:58, and I mean Denise because I wasn't there yet, we're in the same position as all of you. If you don't have a program, need to make someone understand how important the program is. We love to assist anybody that needs help implementing quality tribal records. We had a wonderful response. We did this basic same thing last year. I think we had 50 people, and we had just a list of emails this long of people that wanted what we do. It's not fancy, and it's not rocket science. It's just easy, and anyone can do it. It just takes a while. So this is our contact information, and everyone has it on their sheet. So you are more than welcome to email us with anything. Absolutely anything. And we will give you forms, manuals, disaster recovery plans, all that kind of thing. So if you guys need any help, you just let us know.
Your state records center doesn't offer any assistance? Like, I know we can take our records to the state records center and they store in a secure area, and then in April, that big truck comes and burns them and.
No, we haven't even, and I don't even know if the nation would be in favor of that.
Yeah.
Because we're a tribal government, right. So I'm pretty sure that was never even an option.
That's why I was asking.
Right. So, does anyone have any questions? Well, thank you guys very much.
I had one. What's the difference between gain and the gain?
Okay, so the gain
index?
is like it's strictly kind of like an inventory software. So you have, you can manage it by
Yeah, let me go back.
by one piece of paper, by a folder, by a box. So we choose to do it by the box. Our Department of Justice has, they do it by folder for their case files. And you just enter the information, you enter what is in that folder or box, the date range, and then they don't use the retention side of that software, we do. So in beforehand, you have had to put in all the retention codes that you have. So then later you can pull up and say, okay, as of June 30th, 2013, what can I destroy? And then it gives you the list. Now the index is more, we use it for historical records and scanning them because they can't be altered. You can add to a folder, you cannot alter any of the documents in it.
No, there's no modification whatsoever. I mean, like she said, we can add, and the security clearances are different. You can make a security clearance for 10 different people in your own department.
Right.
I'm the only person that has full access in ours because I'm the one that uses it the most. But
I
this
can't
is for
change
permanent, and then
settings or
they
anything.
OCR as well. So you're able to pull up these meeting minutes and stuff and historical documents within seconds. And it's telling you exactly where on that page it is.
That's it for.
Yes,
When I
it
was a record manager
streamlined everything, everything.
For the Delaware North, we brought things in from all over the world, so
our biggest was Lebanon, because they used different sized boxes,
Oh.
different sized paper.
Right.
Right.
And so we had to have a special section for that. And-
Yep. And a good scanner. A good scanner and Indus is the way to go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
No.